Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here, hope you're all doing well, and in this video we have an update for the Andor show, so we're gonna hop right on into it. This video we're taking a read from the Direct's article. I'm gonna have their full article linked down in the description down below for you guys to check out as well. It reads, Diego Luna reportedly rejected Andor's original TV plan. As the article continues, when it comes to Lucasfilm's next Disney Plus series, Andor, the traditional Star Wars intro of a long time ago has a dual meaning. Much like Obi-Wan Kenobi, which debuted on Disney Plus back in May a couple of months ago, Andor is also a prequel series. However, it's a prequel to one of Disney's Star Wars films, 2016's Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, which in itself was a prequel to 1977's A New Hope, so a prequel of a prequel. Starring Diego Luna, who's reprising his role as Cassian Andor, audiences know how his story ends. In Andor, they're going to learn how it begins. However, time isn't just of the essence within the Star Wars universe. In fact, when it comes to Andor's original length, time was an issue for Diego Luna in this universe as well. Diego Luna's resistant Andor's original number of seasons. In a recent interview for Andor, the cast and crew revealed that 5 seasons were originally planned for the upcoming Star Wars Disney Plus show Andor, something that we've already known beforehand. And according to actress Denise Gao, who plays Andor's character Dedra Miro, she and the cast sort of signed up for 5 years before Luna spoke up, slating he would die if he ever did 5 seasons of the Star Wars show. In the full quote, she says, "We sort of signed up for 5 years. We thought they were gonna be 5 seasons of this and thankfully Diego Luna was like, I'll die if I do 5 seasons. So they condensed it into this amazing, I don't know how he's done it, but he has condensed it. Screenwriter and producer Tony Gilroy has managed to do 1 more season and they're gonna have told the whole entirety of the story." Ending that quote right there. It is honestly unfortunate, but at least the entirety of the cast and crew were kind of on board with the same idea that 5 years would be way too long, as in the show has 5 years leading up to the events of the Rogue One movie, spanning over probably the next 5 to 10, probably 5 years in the real world time. But at the same time, it is just unfortunate that we didn't get that full-on story or the original plan that there was originally intended to do, simply because, well, the cast didn't really want to do it all that much, which is just unfortunate, but there is always the idea that Lucasfilm could go ahead and maybe animate it into an animated show. I think is something that they would have done rather instead, maybe. As our article continues to say, as to how showrunner Tony Gilroy condensed 5 years of storytelling into 2 seasons, Andor's first season is set to cover a year of the timeline. Meanwhile, its second season will divide into 4 blocks, with each block representing a year of its own. So even though Andor isn't a Diego Luna rejected, a 5-season series, it will still span over 5 years of Cassian Andor's life in the Star Wars universe. Tony Gilroy actually commented on the length of each season's number of episodes as well, explaining that you gotta pick the right number. In the full quote, Tony Gilroy says, "There's a new dial on everybody's console, which is, how long should my story be? Is it 3 episodes? Is it 7? Is it 12? What is it? You gotta pick the right number," he says, ending the quote right there. As to that, the number, both seasons of Andor are confirmed to be 12 episodes long, and according to Tony Gilroy, that number is liberating, he says. In the full quote, Tony Gilroy reads, "It's really fantastic to be able to stretch out, to have a Dickinson amount of characters that interact and tell a massive story. You don't want to waste time, you want to keep your compression skills, but it's very liberating," he says, ending the quote right there. Kyle Soller plays Cyril Korn in the series, shared his experience in talking with Tony Gilroy as the article continues about Andor and his own characters, saying, "Tony kind of fleshed out what was going to happen potentially for the rest of the season, but he hadn't written it out yet, and he was talking about Cyril. He was like, at this point, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I don't know. Is he gonna end up like this? Is he gonna end up like that? I don't know." And I was like, okay, man. I'm like, well, I'll just take that as a starting point, ending the quote right there. So there's definitely some up in the air kind of tones and themes and concepts and ideas when it comes to having so many different characters with the Andor show, because let's remember, the Andor show, well, hence its name, isn't just based off of just Andor. It's going to cover all types of different stories throughout the Star Wars universe during this point in time in the Star Wars timeline with the rise of the Empire. How this is affecting everyday normal people as well is another concept and idea, whilst having other characters that might be a little bit larger at that, on the same level as Andor. Denise Gao chimed in, remarking that it's so great, as Solar continued commenting on his character's gray area type of thing. In that quote, he says, "And use that kind of gray area and complexity. Is he he or isn't he? So it definitely sounds like one of those kind of character conflicts that we have seen before, and I know so many Star Wars fans out there are going to be groaning and moaning over this one because, well, as I just mentioned, we've seen this so many different times throughout Star Wars storytelling. And I'd also like to just say up in front, it's not the worst case scenario, it's not the worst thing ever. From the talks of it and the sounds of it, it sounds like that this is going to be a character that goes from Imperial to Rebellion. Anyways, as the article continues to say, according to Denise Gao, even though Tony Gilroy knows the length and the conclusion of the overall show, not knowing a character's conclusion is, well, a good thing for the actors. In that full quote, she says, but that makes total sense to give you that note before it even starts. So even within creating a character, you're like, well, I'm not sure, but it was like he needed me to commit to. Don't try and make this girl sweet and nice underneath it all. He just wanted me to go hell for leather. Ending that quote right there, it keeps the actors and the actresses on their toes, essentially, I think is what she's saying. It keeps it intriguing and exciting for them. They don't know how it's going to end. If, you know, Tony Gilroy doesn't neither necessarily know how it's going to end for every single individual character out there. Of course, we know how it kind of ends for Mon Mothma, the character that Denise Gao is going to be portraying, is that, well, of course she's going to live through the events of the overall show because we see her in the original trilogy. However, there's newer other characters out there that I have been mentioning before, as the actor had spoken, the one that plays Karn. He's a new character. We've never seen him before, and we never see him later on down the Star Wars timeline, so we just don't know. He's up in the air, and he's one of those more interesting characters that could live or could die. From there, the article continues to talk about Andor's unique 5-year plan. Not only are prequels tricky when it comes to time restraints, but productions can be just as difficult in that sense, especially within the Star Wars brand. After all, The Mandalorian has yet to release its 3rd season, despite having debuted Disney Plus back in 2019. I mean, there's been, of course, other shows and storytelling that play into that. You can't completely blame it on that. That, and there would be oversaturation, at least for when it comes to the whole Mandoverse and those aspects. Anyway, that's something completely different regarding that. As the article continues to talk about, while Diego Luna has been nothing but enthusiastic about his return to Star Wars, to that galaxy far, far away, it's understandable why a 5-season commitment would have been too much for the actor. But even though Star Wars fans are only getting 2 seasons of Andor as opposed to 5, it's worth also noting that both of its seasons are longer than what Lucasfilm had traditionally produced for a Star Wars Disney Plus show, a live action there as well. And although Tony Gilroy's creative problem solving and self-professed compression skills, fans are still getting the 5-year Cassian Andor story that the showrunner wanted to tell. Therefore, in the end, both the actor and the creator won. The question now is whether the series length and Andor itself will still win over Star Wars fans in the coming weeks. The first 3 episodes of Andor premiere not soon enough in my own thoughts and opinions on Disney Plus on September 21st. We're going to be covering all types of Star Wars related stuff regarding the Andor show. We're going to have weekly breakdowns here on the channel, of course, but on top of that, we also cover all types of other Star Wars related news, leaks, theories, rumors, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of it, hit the subscribe button and join us here today. From there, there's where the article ends. The full article link down in the description down below, as I had mentioned before. It's so cool and neat to get these little tidbits and updates and insights here, essentially, of what we have in the coming weeks, especially with the Andor show here as well. The Andor show is doing it a little bit differently compared to other Star Wars Disney Plus shows previously before, such as The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, by using all practical sets, no stagecraft or green screens or anything like that, and that there is going to be much more different, much more unique, and have that more rough type of feeling, more real-world type of feeling, rather, as it's been previously described by the showrunner himself and creator Tony Gilroy as well, drawing us Star Wars fans, the audience and the viewers, into the Star Wars universe just a little bit more. Now, as I had also mentioned earlier on in this video here, about maybe potentially filling in those years and those gaps with an animated show about the Andor overall, his story here before the 5 years of leading up to the Rogue One movie, essentially. Perhaps rather they should have maybe just go ahead and do with season 2 just taking place the 2nd year, and then from there do the last 3 years and switch it over to animation. I think it's something that would be a little bit more different in the Star Wars aspects, something a little bit more unique in those aspects as well, and it would be easier, and I think it would still be a win-win for everybody, because in previous past interviews, when it comes to, especially with Diego Luna, who plays Cassian Andor, he said that he's just getting too old for this type of stuff, simply put it like that. And well, if you think he's too old for it, think about how Mark Hamill or maybe Harrison Ford feel about returning to Star Wars. I know they definitely have some type of stunt double for Andor, but maybe they should have, I don't know, more scenes for the stunt double. However, as we also know, it's not just that. Andor actor Diego Luna just wants to move on with his life. He has a family, he has kids, and that type of stuff as well. Just normal, everyday people things. Anyway, I want all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I'd absolutely love to hear what you guys all think here. What are you guys looking forward to here most with the Andor show and really the overall future of Star Wars? I'd absolutely love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it, as it really does help the channel, and check out Instagram on Official Star Wars for more Star Wars related content, guys. Thanks so much for watching today's video. As always, may the Force be with you. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one, guys. This has been Unofficial Star Wars. Peace out.